My name is John Bowman. I am the head of the Stanley Community College English Department, and I'm here today to talk to you about plagiarism. I'm going to give you some quick, practical advice. That way you can make sure to avoid plagiarism in all of your essays. Thing number one that I want to say is that anytime that you use a citation process in your essay, whether it be MLA or APA, you have essentially what boils down to a one-to-one correspondence between what's on the works cited page and what's inside the text itself. So, for example, if you have something on the works cited page, you must have something inside the text. This is because you have a works that are cited somewhere inside the paper page at the end. That's applicable as well to APA format. There are three main types of in-text citations. The first of which is a direct quote. A direct quote could be exemplified as, "Hark, it is the east, and Juliet is the rising sun." That is a direct quote, and we would cite Shakespeare's work, Romeo and Juliet, and we would give the particular page, or in this case, because it's a play, we would give the line number of that quote. The second kind is paraphrasing. This is when you take a narrow passage and you put it into your own words. So we might say, taking the exact same material, that Romeo is creeping around in the garden and that Juliet is up in the balcony, and that Romeo sees her and listens to her for a while, and then they introduce themselves to each other. This is a paraphrase because what I've done is I've taken that entire scene and put it into my own words. That requires an in-text citation. Even if you have paraphrased information, you must use an in-text citation for that material. The last kind is summary. That's where you take the entire work and you put it into your own words. So in this particular case, I might say that Romeo meets Juliet. They fall deeply in love. Their families don't approve. They try to get married anyway. Some misunderstandings take place, and then in the end, they both end up dead, and the families end up being punished. That is a summary. We don't need a page range for that because the page range for that is going to be the entire work itself. So what we do need, though, is to say in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and then put the rest of it into our own words. That counts as an in-text citation because it shows exactly where those ideas came from. The plagiarism policy here at Stanley Community College is pretty self-evident, and I would deeply encourage you to go and read the plagiarism policy on your instructor's syllabus. Most of the time, it's going to say things like a student who has willfully presented specific facts or ideas as his or her own, even though those ideas do not belong to that student. A couple of other ones that I might suggest is to make sure, again, that you're always documenting in MLA or APA format as specified by your instructor, and that you're aware of specific kinds of plagiarism, such as, for example, self-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism is oftentimes a problem here at Stanley Community College because students will take a course and then they won't complete the course and then they'll retake the course later. Just like in a biology class, if you were to take that course, take a test, leave the biology class because you dropped it or something like that, and then retake it later, you can't go back into it the second time and say, I took the biology class earlier and I would just like to keep those test results, please. You can't do that. You've signed up for the class again, so you have to take the same test all over again. It's the exact same thing in the English department. If you sign up for the class and you write the essay and then you drop from the class, you are self-plagiarizing if you attempt to reuse that essay for future work. And that applies even across courses. If you wrote a paper in high school and you attempt to use it in college, that is self-plagiarized. All right, the last thing that I want to talk about is I'm going to give you three specific examples of when you should cite something. And so on your screen, you should see an example that's been pulled from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. And it says these couple of things at the top. And I've highlighted some things that tie into what you might have said, what you might have written. Those specific words indicate that that information was pulled from that location. And so, yes, you absolutely need a citation. This is not your information and it belongs to someone else. So you need a good in-text citation. The second example is you have a website that says that gravity works. And you write, gravity makes things fall. That's self-evident. That is knowledge that everyone shares and everyone under any given circumstance understands. And so therefore it requires no in-text citation because it's basic common sense. Things fall. It's bright outside on sunny days. It rains when there are clouds sometimes. Basic common sense. You don't need a citation for that. And the last one comes from one of our English instructors who is also a pilot. If she were to say, for example, that the P factor on an airplane makes it pull to the left or the right, and this is on a prop airplane, that is specialized knowledge that she has from her hobbies. Now, we all have hobbies, and when we do our hobbies, we have that specialized knowledge that ties into these things. But if you carry that specialized knowledge into your essay, my strong recommendation would be one of two things. One, have a conversation with your instructor ahead of time so that he or she knows that you have those hobbies and that you have that expert knowledge. Two, that you go ahead and cite it anyway, because it can look like you've plagiarized something if you're using this very specialized information and your instructor does not know that you have that specialized information. So just to protect yourself from a charge of plagiarism, it might be advantageous to you to include an in-text citation and a citation on your works cited or your references page in order to avoid the accusation of plagiarism. That's it. If you have any specific questions, again, I would highly recommend that you talk to your instructor directly so that your instructor knows that you have confusion on the subject and can help you as much as possible.